Question: are you stepping over $100 bills to pick up 5s and 10s? You might unknowingly be shooting yourself in the foot when it comes to selling your tax plans. And in this video, we're going to cover optimal pricing and pricing strategies that you can use to get the maximum clients and profits. After talking and consulting with hundreds of firms at this point over the past year and a half, I see the same common mistakes that firm owners make that ultimately shoot themselves in the foot. So over the next 45 minutes to an hour, I believe, I'm actually going to share a private client training that I did with clients who pay me anywhere from $2,000 to $6,800 per month to access this information, yours at no cost to you. So with that being said, let's dive in. That way you can get the maximum number of tax planning clients at the most profitable clip. Let's dive in.
Be running over, but sure.
Well, we're going to get started on our side. Guys, I'm excited for today. Optimal pricing strategies for maximum clients and profits. So, question for you guys. Does anybody feel like their price is a problem? Either from the profit side or from not enough people buying side?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Which ones?
Both.
Both?
I can't really speak to the profit side of things, but I would say the people buying side for sure.
Sure. Okay. And do you think that there's not enough people buying, or do you think that there's too many people buying?
Not enough. I think our price kind of deters people.
Okay. Got it. What about you, Daniel?
I think if I think this through, I think that there's more people coming into the market. So now pricing becomes an issue. Before, when the market was just maybe a couple hundred, a couple thousand tax planners, it was kind of you call the shots. But now you got to take into consideration what other people are charging.
Yeah, no, big time. And I'd challenge you. I think it's the same amount of tax planners. I think more of them are just advertising now.
Yeah. Yeah.
And since you're a tax planner and you're probably clicking on people's ads, they're going to show more tax planner ads to you. Right?
Yeah.
So cool. So I went ahead and got one of my whiteboards of truth and justice here. But basically, we're going to start with a J curve or whatever you call it, XY axis. Okay. So basically, when it comes to the pricing and the new clients, right, we want to find that sweet spot where we're able to get the most clients in, right? The maximum clients, which will be over here. But we don't want to dilute our price so much in order to get them. So our goal here is to find that sweet spot, and the sweet spot's going to be a little bit different for everybody, okay? But I've seen a really big problem happening within my clients specifically. We're going to have this be the handy dandy sweet spot of maximum clients and pricing. Okay. And so the problem, how do I put this guy here? This doesn't want to work with me. Okay. Well, we'll just do this. Boom and boom. And then we'll erase you. All right, cool. So this is the maximum client and profit sweet spot. Now, what I see happening a lot, okay, is that people get excited. They get so excited and they get hung up about selling a 20K, a 40K, a 50K tax plan. And why wouldn't they, right? You guys are going in and you're saving somebody $1 million, $300,000, $150,000. So it makes sense to charge somebody $50,000, right?
Mm-hmm.
That makes sense. Okay, but let me ask you. After somebody becomes a client, and let's say that they become a recurring client, how much is that person worth to your firm on average? What's the lifetime value of that person to your firm?
I mean, over how many years?
Well, that's up to your individual business, right? How long does an average client stay with you, D?
Well, my clients have been around forever. I keep jacking up the prices, and they just hang there. They hang around.
So let's say,
Let's say like 7 years. I think in the industry, like 7 years is an average.
okay, so 7 years, and how much does somebody pay you on an average monthly basis?
I mean, depending on the client, I mean,
Yeah, just average
our
it out
average, maybe $10,000 to $12,000 a year.
a year. Okay. So let's say that somebody balks at the 20K price, just the people that you're attracting. Okay. They balk at the 20K price, and you're like, yeah, I'm going to get this guy for $20,000 up front. Right. And if they pay you $10,000 to $12,000 a year over 7 years, then you're looking at 70 G's in potential revenue. Okay.
Mhm.
But the problem is that if nobody's biting at that 20K, then you don't have a chance to even get them on the back end recurring services, which A is where most of your money's going to be made, because you got to figure the ad cost that it takes in order to get this 20K plan, right? It doesn't cost you anything in advertising to keep the client, right? Sure, you're going to have overhead, and you're also going to have staff that has to help service them. But the problem is that when a lot of people are going for this high upfront. Oh, this is perfect. Mark's hopping on here too. I'll wait till he's on.
Yeah, I just texted him.
Cool. What's up, Mark? What's up, Mark? What's happening? So that's the problem, right? If we go for these high upfront tax plans, okay, and let's say that we get one person to buy the tax plan, right? So we got one tax plan at, let's just call it 40K. All right. Well, the problem is that Daniel, let me ask you real quick. So the 40K tax plan that you sold, has he signed up for any recurring services yet?
He hasn't. He hasn't, but I had one of the 18.5s they did, and that came out to be, I think, like $3,500 a month.
Nice. That's a good nut, right? That's like what, 40 G's a year for you?
Yep.
Okay. So let's say that we sell one tax plan at 40K and they don't end up doing any recurring revenue. They just want the tax plan. Okay. And because you're quoting people 40K, let's say that you had like 5 people that did not buy, that would have, let's just say, do a 5K up front. But then let's say that 3 of them would have also hired your firm for back end services. Okay. Well, again, if we do the math on it, right? Let's say 5 at, let's just call it 6K. Okay. So that's 30K in upfront revenue. And then on the back end, let's just say that you're charging each of them, okay, $1,500 a month. So let's say 3, let's just say 2 take you up on your back end services. Okay. So 2 at $1,500 a month. And Daniel, what did you say? 7 years industry average?
Yeah, about, I would say.
So somebody do that math for me. What is 18K times 7?
Well,
126.
something you're not thinking about here is we can then make money on all these ancillary other items
For sure.
and referral commissions, and then we're going to probably raise their price every year as well.
Yep. So let's just keep it simple for now, just for the example's sake. Okay.
That's
So 1,500
yeah.
or 18K, sorry, times 7. What was it?
18K, or yeah, 18 times 6 or times 7
Yeah, do 7.
plus 126.
126. Okay, so times 2, because you got to remember we got 2 clients, right?
Yep. 252.
252. Okay, so 252K. So, and that doesn't even include the 30K up front. So again, right, we go back to the optimal pricing, right? If you're getting the price all the way over here, of course, it doesn't want to let me move the circle. Come on now. All right, I will. Okay, so if you're going way up here on the price and you're not getting that many new clients, you got to think like, okay, there's probably a level of lifetime value and back-end recurring revenue that I'm sacrificing and I'm not able to get. And you got to remember, guys, if you ever want to go and sell the firm, right? If you want to find a buyer, are they going to buy a firm that's slinging one-off tax plans that has to go out and hunt every single month? Or are they going to go after the firm that has recurring revenue and acquisition system to get those clients in on a regular basis that they can then go in and upsell and introduce to their referral partners and make those, other ways to profit if they decide to buy the firm? Which one's going to be more attractive to the buyer?
Yeah, the
Recurring, but also from your guys' standpoint. Okay. So I just want you guys to think, you don't have to give me a number, but if you want to, I'd definitely be curious. How many clients do you think you lost because your pricing was not optimal? And when I say lost, I mean didn't even sign on the first place.
I would say probably maybe 60%, 60 to 70%.
Yeah, we've been talking a ton of clients, ton of missed opportunities.
Yeah. And how much back-end recurring revenue do you think was left on the table because you either pitched too high or there wasn't some different pricing strategies to get those people in the first place?
A lot.
Probably a lot of recurring revenue, right? So look, I totally get the lure, right? Of, man, I'm going to go out and I'm going to quote this guy $40,000 because I can save him $1.2 million, right? I should charge him that much. I should charge him 40K because I'm saving this motherfucker $1.2 million. So I deserve my slice. But again, how much is that costing you by not being able to get that back end revenue? Okay. So that's where we go back over here. Okay. What's the optimal pricing for maximum clients and profits? So just to give you guys an example, I told Ed, because literally what I just told you guys of like, I'm going to charge this motherfucker, right? Those were not Ed's words, but it was definitely something that he was thinking, right? But he kept getting balked at his price. It's like, really? You're going to charge me that much? Okay. Which again, there are people who can pay it, but the likelihood of them coming in on a regular basis is a little bit slimmer. Whereas if he had just lowered his price a little bit, doesn't have to be much. He was, he was quoting people like 17.5, I think. If he had lowered it to like 6K, right? Yep. Or 7K, he probably could have closed every single one of those people that he quoted at 17.5, and he would have them on the back end recurring revenue. Okay. So what I'd recommend, if you guys are running into price issues and price objections, okay, this is the first strategy I'm going to give you. If you're not closing at a 30% close rate, okay, of shows, so people who show up to the call off of cold traffic, and you're not closing at least 30%, okay, then your price is possibly too high. And just from Nick's perspective, let's say Nick's a sales rep, okay? How motivating or demotivating do you think it is to close one out of like, let's say 100 prospects?
I mean, it definitely takes its toll, but every no is one step closer to a yes,
Oh, for sure. But if you could get 20 yeses out of 100 prospects, both from a motivational standpoint and from a commission standpoint, right? That's something to think about if you guys have a team on your hand as well. Okay? So the second thing is that if you're closing too high, right? Like if your close rate's 85%, guess what that probably means about your price?
Too low.
Too low.
Fucking low. You're not charging
to be that way.
Yeah. Okay. So again, we're going for that optimal sweet spot. Okay. And it's going to be a little bit different for everyone. Like you're going to have to test it out and you're going to have to find. But again, if you're closing below 30%, because this is a net save money offer, it doesn't cost them anything because the savings that you give them, right? You're just taking a piece of that savings. So it should be like a no-brainer, like duh offer. Okay. So if you're closing below 30%, chances are, okay, if you have a good sales process and you have the proof, you have the testimonials, right? And you can show them that you're the actual guy that can do the shit that you say you're going to do, I'm guessing your price is too high. Okay. If you're closing below 30%. Now, obviously you guys want to attract top tier clients. Okay. So I get it. There's value in that top tier pricing. Okay. But again, if everybody is saying no to you, it's probably a sign that either A, you have to get better at the sales process, or B, you have to come down on the price just a little bit in order to get those people in the door. Because again, amateurs focus on the front end, pros focus on the back end. And in this scenario, right, would you guys rather have 40K up front and no back end revenue? Or let's even say 10K up front, okay, but 252K in recurring revenue over however many months.
Yeah, they're recurring.
Big time, right? So obviously there's pros and cons to both. Okay.
I was actually just looking on TaxHive. They took down their pricing thing.
Mm.
So that I was looking for. I remember it used to be on there, and I was like, all right,
You got a cold now.
yeah. Now you got a call.
Yep. They don't want price shoppers. Smart on their part. So I'm going to give you guys a couple pricing strategies. The first pricing strategy that I always like to go over, okay, is the total value of your offer. You see, price is what you pay in order to get something, but the value or perceived value is what you receive in exchange. So if somebody's going to pay you $1 and they're going to get $1 back, they're not going to buy from you, right? But if you figure out a way, right, where they pay you $1 and you give them $10 back, which I'm pretty sure actually Daniel uses as a quote in his sales pitch,
Mhm.
right?
Yep.
Then they're going to do that all day, every single day. Okay. So the question becomes not just, okay, how do we provide value in terms of here's our, here's the tax plan. But the second thing to think about, especially with these wealthy guys, is again, there's a major difference between wealthy people and non-wealthy people. Okay. And one has more of it than the other. Do you guys know what I'm talking about? What is it?
Time.
They got time. So you got to figure out not just how to reverse the risk in terms of the investment that they're making with their capital, but you also have to think about how to mitigate the risk and lower the risk in terms of their investment in their time. Does that make sense?
Yep.
Okay, because that's the one thing that they can't get. So like from my side, if somebody comes in, let's say, and they're like an e-com business, let's say they're an e-commerce business, and I'm like, hey, I'm going to help you, build this new sales page. But by the way, to avoid going back on everything, instead of just straight up going with this new page, we're going to do a split test. And again, to avoid any mishaps, right? And you wasting a ton of time, let's just say that it can't beat it, right? We're going to start at a 10% of the traffic coming to the split test page and 90% still going to the page that's already working. Okay. That way we can mitigate the risk of you, going back in terms of how much time that it took in order to, lost sales, lost revenue because of this time that we, what's the word I'm looking for? That we use testing this out. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So the total value of your offer from a capital standpoint and a time standpoint, how do you reduce the risk in terms of their time? Okay. That's a huge one to think about. And you guys are selling a done for you offer, which is great. Some people do done with you where they like sell the tax plan and then they have, coaching on the back end where they help them implement. I think most everybody here pretty much implements for their clients or, refers out to other partners. Okay. So that's the first thing to think about. The second thing is your payment terms / plans. So who here has looping set up? Who has their looping script?
What do you mean by looping?
Who has their looping script set up when you're on sales
Oh,
calls?
the script, yeah. I've got the one from the call that I added a little bit, but
Okay.
I haven't really gotten that one, or I haven't really used it too often.
So I'm going to give you, this is probably the biggest thing that I see working really well, and it's payment terms or plans. Okay. So let's just say that your standard plan is, let's say like $8,800. And if you guys are going for one call closes, I suggest going under 10K. The higher you go in price, the more time they're going to need to get accustomed to you. Okay. Which I'll give you guys strategies on that as well, on how to speed up that sales cycle. But if you're going for like, again, if we want to go for maximum customers, right, and profits, what I would suggest is keeping the tax plan under 10K if you want to go for maximum. Okay. If you want, because you know, if somebody's willing to spend $8,800 on a one call close, typically they're going to be pretty good, you know, pretty good fish. But with that being said, if you want to go higher than that, sometimes it's going to require 2-3 call closes. Okay. But for the payment terms, when you're on the call with them and they're like, yeah, let me think about it. You know, it's 15K. Let me think about it. Or let me see, you know, or let's just say I was thinking it was too expensive. Okay. How often do you offer payment plans?
I've broken the big one I got for 45. I set them up on 10,000 a month for, it was 5,000 down and then 10,000 for 4 months.
Nice. So on the regular calls, is anybody offering payment plans?
No.
We sometimes do in the negotiation process, but it's not standard operations. Should be.
So there was a study done, right? And it was for a direct response. I think it was one of those like at-home fitness gym things. And they did a test. They did a test where they would sell it to you for like $199. And then they did a separate test where they would sell it to you for like $99 a month or like $150 a month for 3 months. So when somebody's looking at that, the only thing that they see is they see the 99. Typically, like they're thinking about it in the back of their head, but their brain doesn't really compute that it's really $450 compared to 200 or $300 compared to 200. Okay. So the first thing that I would highly, highly, highly suggest you do is put it in standard operating procedures to do payment plans. And so the way that it works, if you're using looping or overcoming objections, is this is your first loop. So if I'm on with Daniel and he's like, yeah, I don't know, man, you know, let me think about it. Okay, cool. Well, do you like the idea? Like, does the idea of having a tax plan in place make sense to you? Yeah, totally. Okay, cool. So let me just say this, right? And then you go into your loop and then you say at the very end, when you're going for that second close, you're going to say, okay, cool. So let's do this. Let's break it up into 3 payments of 5K. So all you have to do today is put down 5K and we'll get started on your plan to get it in your hands in the next 7 days. Sound fair enough? And you go for that second payment option, which is the payment plan. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay. So that's the first thing. The next thing is you want to collect a deposit. You want to collect a deposit. Everybody here is in the service-based business industry, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Right? You offer professional services? Okay. So if you guys had 100 people come to you tomorrow throwing their credit cards at you, would you be able to take every single client on and deliver them results within 24 hours?
Hell no.
Absolutely not. Right? Unless you're tax high, that's probably not very realistic for you. Okay. So what you want to do is you want to have an option where you can collect a deposit for 2 things. A, to secure the price that you quoted them, especially going into busy season. Q4 and Q1 are the busiest times of year for you guys, right?
Mm-hmm.
True or false?
Yes. Okay. So,
Yep.
So if you're going into the busiest season where you're going to have workload on the backside of everything, including all the front end stuff of you having to acquire new clients, you're probably not going to be able to take on as many clients compared to when you're not as busy, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So the first thing is that it secures their spot. But the second thing is that it also locks them into their pricing. So Mark has a great strategy where he has a deadline in terms of how long the offer is alive for, active for.
Mhm.
Okay. And if they don't take action, then the offer goes away. Right? Hey, we might be up on our prices. So this is how long it's active for. So if you go and you loop again, let's say that you offer the tax plan, the payment plan. Hey, cool. Well, let's just do this. You know, we're a service-based business. Unfortunately, you know, we are limited in terms of the amount of clients we can take on at any given time. And you guys should honestly just come up with the number, like figure out the actual number of clients that you could take on in a given month. You know, so unfortunately, we can't take on all the clients that we want to in a month. So with that being said, let's do this. Let's lock in a deposit of $1,000. It's completely refundable. And if you do decide to go through with it, then we'll put that deposit towards the entire investment. Okay. But what it'll do is A, it'll lock in your spot for a client that we can take on this month. And B, it'll also lock in the pricing and secure your pricing. Does that make sense?
Mhm.
Okay.
What
So-
would you think about if we wanted to just kind of on the same topic to do maybe if we did I don't know 8,000 down, like a higher number deposit, like 50% up front, and then the payment plan is for the other 50%, or should we just
So-
kind of
Yeah, so you're thinking of a payment plan. Okay, so a payment plan would be like 8K up front, 8K on delivery. A deposit is typically like 5% of the total plan, or like a couple $100. So
Okay.
what they're doing is they are purchasing the ability to lock in their spot as a client and the pricing. Does that make sense?
Mhm.
Whereas the payment plan is like, so basically they're buying they're buying the ability to decide on a deposit. With a payment plan, they're already saying, yes, I want the tax plan. Let's put half down now and then half down on delivery.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Whereas the deposit is like, hey, I'm not sure if I want the tax plan yet,
Mhm.
but I'll put down the deposit to lock in my spot and lock in my price. Does that make sense?
Yep.
Okay. So any questions on these specifically? Okay. Just these. I can't tell you the amount of sales like personally I've increased. Okay. But on my side, right, I kind of found my sweet spot, my optimal pricing, where I'm charging like 25K up front, or they can pay me over a couple months. Okay. And then 5K a month after that. That's what I found is like my optimal sweet spot. But the other thing when it comes to this, okay, is speeding up the sales cycle. And so I'm not going to spend too much time on this. This is going to be our last topic, but I'm going to show you guys something that we're doing with Ed here. And have you guys ever seen those people who like, they're a new couple and they go on a cruise together for like a week, right? And then like a month later, they're engaged. Have you guys ever seen that happen? Or they go on a cruise with somebody for like 7 days and it's like, you know, by the end of the cruise, you feel like you've known this person your entire life.
I don't
Why?
go on to
That's okay. You can probably understand the concept, right?
yeah. No, I get it.
Why is that? Why is that?
Yeah, just got to know each other.
Time. The time you spent, hi Kitty, the time you spent with that person. Okay. So you got to think about it. You're spending 24 hours a day for 7 days straight with someone. You took 6 months of seeing that person, or 3 months, and you compressed it into 7 days. So do you see how much faster a relationship could accelerate just by compressing that time into a shorter time frame? It's still the same amount of time, but instead of breaking it up over 3 months, It's now done in 7 days. So how can you guys do that for your clients? How can you do that for your clients?
I don't know, because I've got everything but time. Just
Delegate.
What's that, Nick?
You could delegate tasks to other staff or condense
it's the videos, the
meetings or
videos,
something.
Oh, what was that? What was that, Nick?
videos. It's doing the
Videos?
videos.
Are you talking about videos that they
Yeah.
could watch and get to know you and your
Hi, this is
firm
Mark Pro.
and what all you guys do and what you offer?
I
You
got
mean
it.
you could literally go to your YouTube channel and binge everything about you and your firm before ever hopping on a sales call with somebody?
Mhm.
Like, dude, this right here, Mark's been doing this a long time and he's got this whole repertoire built up in terms of what he can send people, which is great. Okay. Especially if you know their problems before they even hop onto the call, right? Or maybe you do a triage call in between where you intercept the lead before they actually hop on a booked call. Okay, cool. So like tell me a little bit about your situation. What are you looking to get? What are you looking to get help with? Okay, cool. Like you're looking at STR, you're looking at becoming a full-time real estate professional. Okay, cool. I'm going to send you over a little bit of content. Make sure to check these out before you call, before your call. Whether you decide to do business with us or not, you're going to come in knowing basically everything that you need to know about that specific strategy and how we can help.
Let me answer I guess the big question that I have is just based, and I know you, well, I don't know if you can, or if you can, or if you're comfortable giving us like the specifics. I'm open with my pricing, but what have you seen with your clients that they're charging? Like, where's the sweet spot? Where's the little bubble in the
So
industry?
so again, it depends. Okay. But I've been telling pretty much everybody, hey, start at 5K and then work your way up until you're at that 30%. Because if you're pitching 5K, now if somebody's coming in and they're doing like $50 million a year, don't pitch them 5K. Okay. So like there's a little asterisk back there. Okay. Especially if it's going to require a lot more work. But if you start at 5K and you're closing at like 60%, 70%, raise the price. Continue raising the price $1,000 until you're closing at that 25%, 30% sweet spot. Because again, we want the maximum clients and profit. So you don't want to be slinging $3,500 tax plans.
And
Right.
let me. This is probably more of a question for Mark to see what he thinks on this. I'm not sure if he can hear me or not, but one of the things that I've thought of is assigning a price to each strategy. So you kind of know, but then that kind of kills the guarantee. Well, it does and it doesn't. But I don't know if Mark's ever thought about doing that.
What are you saying? A price for each strategy?
Yeah, doing a price per strategy thing. So like if
Let me
you're
finish this thought real quick. Hold on, let me finish this thought real quick, and then I'll open up to Q&A and you guys can go into
Yeah.
this. Okay? So let's say that we take all of these videos, because some people are going to come over and they're going to literally book the call and then they're going to binge everything about you. Okay. But some people aren't. They're going to hit the thank you page. There's going to be some videos on there and they're going to be like, I booked my call. I'm out. Okay. So in that scenario, what we want to do is we want to come in and we want to retarget these people. Okay. And we want to say, hey, anybody who's clicked on an ad or has booked a call with us, spend $2 a day and put all of these videos, my VSL, right? My testimonials, which Daniel, we're retargeting your testimonials and your VSL. Okay. But then the other content as well. And I think this is one of the big reasons Ed has like all of a sudden started closing deals is because we're taking that content and we're just putting it in front of them. So they basically have no choice but to consume the content before they hop on the call.
Hi, this is Mark Program.
Make sense? Okay. So if you think about, okay, what are the biggest objections that I'm getting? outside of price, right? Do they not believe the tax savings that you can deliver? Because I'm sure you guys have had people come on here and you're like, oh yeah, I can save you like $1.2 million and I'm only going to charge you 10K for it. They're like, something sounds fishy. That's like selling a Lamborghini for $1,000. What's wrong with it? Right?
Mhm.
Okay. So if that's happening, then you need to create content specifically addressing the objection through education. Through education. You need to educate them. You don't want to just come in and create content that's like, here's why we're able to charge so little and get you X savings, right? Like you want to show them like, hey, this video is specifically to share how these strategies are able to, create such a big savings for people that can seem unbelievable. And then they'll watch it before they hop on the call, and that concern is already put to rest before they ever hop on the call with you. Does that make sense?
Yep.
Okay. So if you guys are struggling with long sales cycles, then the easiest thing that you can do to shorten the sales cycle is create content that will warm them up. And instead of going on, 1 date a week for 3 months, is send them on the cruise. And the nice thing is you're cloning yourself. You're not even going on the cruise with them, right? You're cloning and automating through video.
Dan, I got a question for
Yep.
that. In terms of like educating your clients prior to meeting them.
Yep.
Do you know of or have you heard of a way where like our Calendly has like 5 or so questions where they fill out like, hey, what are you, business owner, real estate investor, high net worth individual, yada yada yada. But is there a way to link certain responses to what they get sent after? So if they were like, I'm a real estate investor, I have 10 plus properties, they fill
Yeah, so
that
what
out,
you'll
they
do-
automatically get the short-term
Yeah.
rental whole video or
What you'll
something.
do is you can set up a Zapier. Are you familiar with that?
I honestly just downloaded it Friday because I got Motion AI too to try to be more
Sure.
productive and get this done better. But created a Zap and it looks Chinese to me. I don't know.
Okay,
You
so
do
there's
the
gonna
routing. I did the routing. The routing works, and then the routing could be on each. It just got to set up a different event, and it'll send a series of reminders.
Yep. So Zapier's thing for the routing is basically if this, then that. I think it's literally called if then. And so what you'll do is you'll say, hey, if they answer A, I'm a business owner, put them in this sequence. So you have to create like a couple different sequences based on, the personality type or the ideal client profile that comes through. Okay. But then you can say, okay, if they select this answer, put them in this sequence. If they select this answer, put them in this sequence. And then you can have it custom tailored based on, because to your point, you don't want to manually have to go through and be like, hey, so what do you do?
Yeah.
But yeah, if you just
Yeah,
have
no,
radio buttons, then you can set up something in Zap that's basically just like, hey, if they answer this, check this, and if they answer this, send them here, and if they answer this, send them here. It's just called conditional logic, but I think Zap calls it if then in there.
Yeah, also, Calendly has an application that's conditional as well. I don't know how much control you have over, but we've used that in the past.
Cool. Yeah, Daniel, that's what you're talking about with the routing
Yeah,
form.
for the routing, you can route them to a specific type of call. So I've got mine. So if they say we want accounting, then they go here. If they want anything, like if they click tax planning, they go automatically go to the tax planning feed. And then you can set up those Calendly reminders that shoot out like 24 hours before the call. You can do 24 1 day before, 3 days before, and you can actually put the videos in there to link it. I haven't done it, but I know that it has the capability. The only thing is you can't really track opens or anything else with it.
Yeah, I'd be careful. Typically, what I do and what I recommend is keep the reminders to Calendly, but all the content go through like your email marketing software.
Yeah.
Cool. All right, Daniel, if you want to go ahead and ask Mark that question that you had.
Well, I just wanted to know if you guys, because one thing that I've toyed with, because this is kind of how I built out like my accounting service and the tax side, was doing not a per form per se, but let's say for tax planning, like a per strategy. So they're gonna do a cost seg, it's $7,500, and just give them that. So cost seg is 7,500, 5,000 for a fee simple, $1,000 for an accountable plan, $1,000 for the home office, to kind of build it out that way. But because that's something where I know when I explain it to the client, if I've got a chart and I'm like, hey, like this is the menu, this is how we came up with the price, it's a lot more concrete, and it's more, I don't want to say believable, but it's more, it gives them a little more assurance when they see it, like, oh, this is why this is why the fee simple is $5,000, and this is why this is that.
Yeah, we haven't broken it out like that. Usually it's just kind of qualitative assessment. And we make good money on the cost segs and we charge per cost seg. So that kind of takes care of itself because that's a one-off charge. And then the other things, sometimes we don't even know what they're going to decide on until like the end of the year. So, I mean, I think that, I think the way that we're kind of shifting our minds, because we've closed some pretty big plays in the past that really in prior years was like, it really helped helped us out. But now it's like, I'm not even so concerned about the onboarding or anymore. Like when we get to the year end and we evaluate how needy these guys are and how tricky their returns are, we're gonna, and how much time it takes, we'll assess a quote based on all those factors. So like, let's say they only need like an annual cost seg and like just Q&A, but they ask like 1,000 questions.
Mhm.
It's like, then you gotta raise it up. But at the same time, if you're gonna save them, a couple 100,000 a year, you can justify charging a minimum of 10,000 a year in planning.
Yeah.
Even if it's very little work. So it's like, for us, it's kind of a case by case evaluation, and then we consider how much a pain in the ass the client is.
Yeah.
So
I-
we upcharge for the PITA fee.
Because another option, I'm just kind of like brainstorming as Daniel speaking, my mind's, I got the hamster running. He's on the treadmill. But to do like maybe the tax plan itself is 9,997, just to say, to give a number, and then that gives them all the strategies, and then charge an implementation fee for each strategy, where that implementation, because if they're doing a fee simple, it's kind of like, hey, just go get your accredited investor certification, put X amount on there. But then if they've got to do kind of like, let's say you're playing with QBI, it's kind of like convert these contractors to W-2, and where it's more hands-on.
Can I give you some food for thought on that? I was talking to one of my other clients about this, and I was like, you want to know how you can literally double your tax plan fee without doing it, like without really doubling it, and you don't have to do any additional work? And he was like, how? I was like, you bake in advisory and coaching services, group coaching.
Mhm.
Right? So what that might look like is you say, hey, when you get this tax plan, you're also going to get 3 months of coaching absolutely free. Okay. And so you can host a weekly group call just like this, where all of your clients can come on, and there's going to be a certain percentage who want to do it themselves, which is fine. Let them, But there's going to be another percentage who want to hire you to implement it for them. But here's the nice thing is that you can then bake in the recurring into the tax plan. So do you guys remember how ClickFunnels got so big so fast? Did we ever talk about that?
Remember you mentioned it, but I don't remember it.
So they sold an information product for $1,000, but in the bonuses, right? Well, you're going to have to build funnels. So we're going to give you 3 months of ClickFunnels access absolutely free. But then guess what happened on that 4th month?
People started calling.
It dinged their credit card. Right? Because you got to keep the software. Okay.
Yeah.
So something to think about is like, hey, you're going to get this tax plan and you're going to get 3 months absolutely free. for our advisory or our coaching. So Mark, for example, right? Corbett is on your team. And if I remember correctly, you have him do like 1 hour consulting calls, like 3 consulting calls with the clients that you bring on, right?
Yep.
Depending on who the client is.
Yep.
Okay. So the only shift that you would make is, hey, instead of 1-to-1, you'll have one onboarding call where we say you should do this strategy, that strategy, this strategy. And then after that, it's going to be group coaching calls where every Wednesday at 12 o'clock, you and other real estate investors can hop on to ask Corbett any of your questions to implement those tax plans. Okay, so what's cool about this is that, again, A, you're able to leverage your time. Instead of having him go 1-to-1 with each person that comes on, he's able to have 50 people on a Zoom call, right? And give them the same value that it would be 1-to-1. Okay. But the other nice thing about that is that instead of stopping at like 3 calls, you now have a reason to charge them $500, $1,000, $1,500 a month. Does that make sense?
Mhm.
So that's something to consider. And I would highly, highly recommend considering doing that. Because you can immediately bake in recurring revenue into the tax plan that you otherwise wouldn't be able to. And then again, some people are going to hop on, they're going to have questions, they're going to try and do it themselves, which is fine. But then other people are going to hop on and they're going to be like, oh, cool. Like, how much does it cost to have you do this for me? So I would consider, okay, how do we bake in advisory services into and leveraged advisory services? I'm not talking 1-to-1 advisory services. I'm talking leveraged group setting 1-to-many advisory services. How do we bake that into the tax plan that we're selling up front? That makes sense?
Mhm.
Cool.
And kind of back to the question, because I think you gave me an answer, but I don't remember. But what are you seeing as like the average tax plan fee? Let's say just getting the outliers out of there, like
7,500.
7,500 is the average.
7,500 for maximum volume. And that's if you're going straight for the tax plan. You're not doing Daniel Sleep's strategy of like, hey, charge for, the tax return review. If you're just going for 1 call close on a tax plan, I'm seeing 7,500 work great.
And is that across like how many planners? Like 10 planners, 15 planners?
Yeah, roughly. Cool. What other questions you guys got?
I think we're good.
Sweet.
Because
So
I
this
think
recording. Oh, go ahead, D.
I was just gonna say, because I guess it's a mental thing. I'm just kind of like speaking out loud, but if I scale back, I don't want to say on the quality, but on the amount of service that I give them, I get the 7,500 or even like under 10 would make sense. But it's just getting that paradigm shift from taking them, because I grab a client and it's like, I'm gonna make sure that you hit this, and I go above and beyond, and I'm dodging bullets and jumping on grenades for them. But if I scale it back to, hey, you paid me for this, and here's the report, and if you want more, it's just making that shift from full, complete, 100%, you're part of the family, to you're a client.
So let me
Great.
ask you this. If you had to charge 1/10 what you're charging right now and still deliver the same or more in terms of value, what would you do differently?
Same value
Or more?
for 1/10.
1/10. Let's say you actually had to increase the value that you provided.
I'd focus on accounting and taxes. I'd say this is not this process isn't working, but the no, I mean, but I couldn't even because I don't like managing people. That's why I love AI. That's the one employee that I can manage and
So stick with me here. If you had to deliver more value for 1/10 the price, what would you do differently?
automate it.
What could you automate about it?
Well, I was actually on the fence about getting that. I don't know if you've seen Sintra AI, where it's got those little bots and it looks like cartoony, but I was going to give it a shot to see if they could do anything, but I don't know what I would do. That's a tough question.
So I would consider that because if there are ways for you to deliver more value
Mhm.
while charging less, then there's probably room to put that in there with the same price that you're already charging.
Well, I mean, I could add like those videos and like doing the one-off things and stuff like that. I could definitely do that as far as adding value, but it wouldn't be like tailored to them. So like if you told me like for her the $45,000 tax plan, would I have done that for 4,500? I would have spent 4,500 just in my time the first week going over his like 12 businesses and looking at all that stuff.
And again, so that was one that's a little bit outside of the regular customers that you have coming in,
Yeah.
right? So he was a little bit of an anomaly in that sense, which is why like, hey, there's this little asterisk back here of like, if somebody's making this much, you're probably not going to charge them your standard rate.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. So think about that though, right?
Mhm.
Like if you had to deliver more value for less, how would you automate? How would you, create resources and videos, kind of like what you were talking about, that will allow them to, you know,
Yeah.
get more value at a lower price point. Okay. And then think about it on the flip side. If you were to 10x your prices, what would you add to that you aren't doing now? Okay, so think about it it's just a mental exercise. I'm not saying you have to do it, but it's a mental exercise to think like, okay, what can I add that will be valuable that maybe I'm not adding right now? Like something I told, the client that I was talking with about the advisory stuff is like, imagine, okay, like I'm guessing after you give somebody the tax plan itself, they kind of have to go and figure out, like, you may have instructions, but they kind of have to figure out how to implement certain strategies, right?
Mhm.
What if you had a video bank that literally walked them through the things that they could do step by step, and they got that as a bonus to the tax plan? That's pretty fucking valuable. Oh, and hey, by the way, if you don't want to take the time to do it, or you don't want to worry about making mistakes, you can hire us for that specific strategy. Right? But think about how valuable that would be. Hey, by the way, in addition to a tax plan, we're going to give you access to a video library that shows you how to implement and execute every single step. Oh, and by the way, underneath each video, we're actually going to plug you with our recommended vendor.
Mhm. You're onto something there. You're onto something.
Oh.
My hamster's going on turbo. He
Yep.
got an extra scoop of C4 this morning, but
Yep. But here's the nice thing with that too. I'm going to leave you guys with one last thing because we're hitting that hour mark. Obviously, there's some strategies that like change, year to year. Okay. But this is something that you can create once and leverage for every single client that comes on board afterwards. How valuable would a video library? Because again, you're delivering on the tax plan, okay? But then they either have to go and implement it themselves and figure out how to implement it, or they have to hire you, okay? How valuable would it be to say, hey, by the way, absolutely free in addition to your tax plan. We're going to hook you up with a video library, and we're going to give you 3 months for free to our advisory program, where you can hop on and ask any questions that you have about implementing what we gave you on the tax plan. And then after that, it's just $500 a month to stay with the advisory. Because all the advisory is support. It's just coaching calls. So I'd consider that.
I've just got two quick things on this.
Yeah.
This is going to be great for retargeting. Like the same ones that didn't sign on the proposals. Like we've got a year-end, we've got our fall special, our Halloween sale, whatever you want to call it. And the video library, ClickFunnels has a capability of doing that, to where you link member, like you say, hey, this member gets video 1, 3, and 5. This one gets 7, 9, and 10. So, okay.
Yep. Yeah, Mark's done that in Kajabi himself. I think it's more of like a basic video course though, right, Mark?
Yeah. But we're building out a library that's exclusive to paying clients, and we're using it. It has to be up. It's going to be up this week, but it's going to allow us to raise prices to justify new features, because we're raising everyone's price. And also we have a chance to get referral fees.
Thanks for checking out the training. I hope you got a ton of value, whether it was talking about the upfront pricing compared to the lifetime value of the client, or if it was the J-curve talking about break even so you can profit on the back end. I hope you got tons of value. Now, if you want help not only implementing pricing strategies, but also implementing sales funnels, marketing assets, sales training, that way you can close more of these deals, then there's a link down below in the comments where you can work with me and my firm. Just click the link to apply and schedule your call today. Other than that, hope you got a ton of value from the video, and we'll see you on the other side.